Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum. I am Ana Fasan. In this segment, we're going to discuss some beginner level problems on circular arrays. As I mentioned before, the data structure circular array does not exist on its own. We need to implement circular arrays using linear arrays. So let's try writing a method where we will convert this linear array to a circular array that will start at index 8. So I will be passing this linear array and the method will create a circular array that should look like this. So pause this video and try to write the method on your own. So this is the basic template of my code. Inside the main method, I have declared and initialized an array named linear, which is a linear array consisting the values 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, followed by some empty spaces. So I want this linear array to be converted to this circular array. So I'll write a method over here that will convert a linear array to a circular array. So the question is, what should be my parameter and what should be my return type? So I've named my method circularize, and as parameters, it takes a linear array that consists of the values, and it also takes two more values, that is the start index, where should the circular array I'll create should start from, and it also takes the size as a parameter because I need to know how many values should be copied. So return type over here is an integer array because this will be done in an out of place approach. That is, how will I create the circular array? What we'll do is we'll create a new array and then copy the values accordingly. So in the end, I must return the newly created circular array. So can you guys try writing the code here which will call this method? How should I call this method within my main method? This is how it should be called because the circularize method will return the new array that has been created, and when the reference of the new circular array will be returned, the reference will be stored in a variable named circular. So over here I have not created any new array. Okay, over here just a variable is created that will hold the reference, and where will the reference come from? The circularize method will return the reference of the circular array created. Okay, this method is not completed yet. So try completing this method. What should my first line be? Okay, what is the first thing that I should do? I hope you've understood by now how this method is being called. So when I'm calling circularize, I'm passing the reference of the linear array, which is Uttara, and then I'm also passing the value start, that where should the circular array start from, and I'm sending the size. So over here, I'll have the access to this array. So first, as I said, it's going to be an out of place approach. I will create a new array that will be of the same length as my linear array. Okay, so I've created a new array and I'll store the reference in a variable called circ. Okay, and the length of this array should be the same as my linear array. So just when this line is executed, as I say the new keyword, what will happen is inside my computer, a new address is going to be generated where I can store these many values side by side. So I'm assuming that the address is Gulshan, and this Gulshan reference will be stored under circ. So after this line, a new array has been created. I still have not copied the values yet. So next, when I'll start copying the value, I need to keep in mind that I will be creating a circular array from a linear array. Now remember thumb rule 1, where I mentioned that whenever I need to traverse, so whenever I need to traverse a circular array, I have to make sure that when I run the loop, I have to think about how many times the loop will run. So over here, I will copy these values into my circular array. So try writing the for loop and think what should the loop controller in the for loop point at. Okay, what should the loop controller be dependent on? Now, since I have to copy 5 values inside my circular array, The loop should run 5 times. So how many times a loop should run depends on the size. Okay, so I've created the for loop here that runs size many times. Now inside my loop, I will have to copy the values from my linear array to the circular array. So the linear array is under the reference Uttar and the circular array is under the reference Gulshan. Alright, and Gulshan is stored in the variable circ and Uttar is stored under the variable leen. Now remember that in linear arrays, whenever I write a loop to iterate it, the loop controller can also work like my index because they both start from 0. So the linear array's index will be also controlled by the variable I. So you see I need to copy the value from the 0th index to index number 8 in the circular array because my circular array should start from the index 8. Okay, I want it to start from the index 8. Hence, I need to create another variable that will iterate over my circular array because remember thumb rule number 1, if I run a loop, the loop controller cannot help me to iterate my circular array's index. Okay, so for the circular array, I will create a new variable named index that will point towards the first index of my circular array, which is stored in the variable start. So I've created the variable over here. Now try to write what should be the lines of code inside my for loop so that the values are copied accordingly. So I need to copy the value from the 0th index to index 8, and 0 is stored in I and the value of index is stored in 8. So this is what it should be. So circ of index, that is circ of 8, is equals to leen of I, that is leen of 0. So after this line in the first iteration, 10 will be copied over here. Okay, so 10 has been copied. And then what should happen in my next iteration? I should increase by 1 and index should also increase by 1. So since I will be incremented within this loop, I need to also increase index. Now since index is the variable index is an index of this circular array, and remember thumb rule number 2 that whenever I increment the index of a circular array, I must mod it with the length because it might go outside the range of my array and then it must be wrapped around to the 0th index. That's why I have, after incrementing the value of index, I have mod it with the circular array's length. So in the next iteration, I will become 1 and index will become 9 and then 20 will be copied over here. Then in the next iteration, I will become 2 and index will become 10. Then 30 will be copied over here. And notice in the next iteration, index plus 1 will become 11. But since I'm modding it with the length, which is 11, 11 mod 11 will become 0. So index will, in the next iteration, will point at 0 and I will become 3. So 40 will be copied over here. And then index will become 1 and I will become 4. And then 50 will be copied over here. Now you might have a question that why did I not have to mod I? Because I is the index of a linear array and it does not have any possibility of going out of the range. But for circular arrays index, we must always mod it. Because in circular arrays, since the start is from a different value other than 0, the index does have a possibility of going outside the range of my array. The next iteration, the value of I will become 5, which is equal to the size. So the loop will terminate. And now that you see that the circular array that has been created looks like how the resulting circular array should look like. So I'm done with copying the values. But you see, I need to return the reference of this array, right? Because over here, linear points towards this array. I want circular to point towards the array that is in Gulshan. So I must return the reference of this array. Okay, because when I'm done executing this method, remember that all the local variables in this method will get destroyed. So when I return circ, Gulshan is returned, and the variable circular will then point at the array Gulshan. And after this method is done being executed, all these I, circ, and everything, all the variables that are start size within my method will get destroyed. Okay, so I no longer have len or the variable circ. So after this, the circular array will now point at this array. So I have created successfully the circular array from this linear array. In the previous example, we saw how to create a circular array from a given linear array. Now let's try to write a method that will do the other way around. That is, it will take the reference of a circular array and it will linearize it. That is, create a new array that will be the linear version of the circular array. So try to write the method on your own. Okay, this example is not going to be done by me. You guys will have to try it.